Imagine waking up in the middle of nowhere. No memory of how you got there. No food, no water, just endless red sand, blistering heat, and the sound of flies buzzing around your face. That was the reality for one man. A man who would go on to survive 71 days in one of the most hostile environments on Earth. His name is Ricky McGee, and his story is a masterclass in raw human instinct, luck, and the will to live when every odd is stacked against you. It all began in January 2006. Ricky was driving across Australia's Northern Territory, a lonely stretch of roads surrounded by endless scrubland. He was on his way to start a new job, cruising along in his Mitsubishi, with the kind of casual confidence that only comes from long-distance road trips under a clear desert sky. But something happened on that road that Ricky still can't fully explain. Some say his car broke down. Others believe he was drugged and robbed by hitchhikers. Whatever the truth, what's certain is that Ricky woke up in the dirt, miles from his vehicle, with nothing but the clothes on his back. No phone, no shoes, no food, no idea where he was. The Outback is not a place for mistakes. By day, the heat can soar past 110 degrees Fahrenheit. At night, it drops close to freezing. There's almost no shade, no running water, and no clear sense of direction. When Ricky first tried to walk out, he quickly realized the land around him stretched endlessly in every direction. He was trapped, a single human speck lost in the desert. The first few days were the worst. With no food or clean water, Ricky began to dehydrate rapidly. His lips cracked, his tongue swelled, and his skin burned from the relentless sun. He stumbled across small puddles of muddy rainwater and drank greedily, ignoring the bugs and dirt floating on top. He found a few wild frogs and lizards, and though the thought disgusted him at first, hunger eventually silenced that voice. He ate them raw, because when you're starving, survival instinct takes over and pride disappears. To escape the sun, Ricky started digging shallow pits in the ground, covering them with branches and leaves to create makeshift shelters. Each night he would curl up in these crude burrows, listening to the distant cries of dingoes and the rustle of unseen creatures moving through the dark. He would dream of food, juicy steaks, cold beer, and the taste of fresh bread, only to wake up with the taste of dirt in his mouth. After 2 weeks, Ricky's body was wasting away. His ribs were showing, his muscles weakening. But every morning, he forced himself to move, to look for water, to find shade, to do something, anything, because in the Outback, stopping means dying. At one point, Ricky stumbled upon a small dam filled with stagnant water. Around it, frogs gathered in swarms, dozens of them. For days, this became his lifeline. He'd catch the frogs by hand, swallow them whole, and drink from the murky puddle beside them. The water tasted like rust and decay, but it was life. He learned to build simple traps, digging holes and using insects to lure small animals. Sometimes he'd find a beetle or two, or chew on grass just to keep his mouth busy. His body began adapting to starvation, conserving energy in ways he didn't understand. Every small victory, catching a frog, finding a few drops of rain, felt monumental. By week 4, Ricky looked like a ghost. His beard was long, his skin blistered and peeling, his clothes torn and filthy. He'd lost over 100 pounds. His sense of time began to blur. Days and nights melted together into one long, feverish nightmare. He talked to himself just to remember his own voice. But deep down, there was one thing he never lost, a spark of belief that he might be found. Sometimes he'd imagine helicopters in the distance, or the rumble of an engine, only to realize it was the wind. That kind of isolation breaks most people. But Ricky turned his mind into a weapon. He created routines. Wake up, check the dam, search for food, fix the shelter, think about what he'd do after he got out. Hope became his survival strategy. Around day 40, a violent storm rolled across the desert. Sheets of rain pounded the earth, filling every hole and ditch with water. Ricky lay flat on his back and let the rain pour into his open mouth. It was the best thing he'd tasted in months. The flood also brought insects and worms to the surface, a new food source, disgusting but rich in protein. It was enough to keep him alive, barely. But as the weeks dragged on, his body began to shut down. His hair fell out, his eyes sunk deep into their sockets, and his mind flickered in and out of hallucination. He could feel his heartbeat slowing, his breath shallow. One day, he collapsed near the dam, too weak to stand. He thought it was the end. He lay there for hours, waiting to fade out. But then, faintly, he heard something. The sound of cattle. The sound of life. Crawling on hands and knees, Ricky followed the noise until he reached a fence line. That fence was civilization. He just didn't know how close. For days he followed it, dragging his body mile after mile, until finally, by sheer miracle, a group of cattle station workers spotted movement near their property. When they approached, they thought they'd found a dead body. What they found was a man clinging to life, little more than skin and bone, but still breathing. It took months for Ricky to recover in a hospital. Doctors said his survival defied logic. 71 days in those conditions should have killed anyone. But somehow, his body had adapted just enough, and his willpower had filled in the rest. When reporters asked him how he kept going, Ricky said something simple. "You either give up or you don't. I didn't." To this day, no one really knows what happened before Ricky woke up in that desert, whether he was drugged, robbed, or simply broke down and got lost. But what's clear is that his story isn't about how he got there. It's about what he did once he was there. He became the embodiment of one of nature's oldest truths. Survival doesn't always belong to the strongest or the smartest, but to those who refuse to quit. So next time you find yourself complaining about a bad day, think about Ricky McGee, a man who spent 71 days alone in the Outback, eating frogs and drinking muddy water, who looked death in the eye and walked away. Because survival isn't a skill you learn, it's a choice you make. Every single day you're still breathing.